Well, hey, welcome everybody to the Afterburn Soccer Show. Hoping for Jose to join us here in just a moment as we break down FC Dallas and North Texas Soccer Club results from a busy weekend. Got some good stuff for you. And of course, you were just seeing there the human wrecking ball that is Hyder O'Brien with a header for an important goal for FC Dallas. They come away with 1 point in that Saturday evening match at home against the Red Hot Columbus Crew. Kind of one of those games where in the course of soccer you do look at a draw and say maybe it was the right result. Maybe both teams played well and they both deserved to come away with something. Although you could argue in different ways about the game and how things unfolded anyway. So a really busy weekend. Also, North Texas Soccer got their final win of the season, and they will not have any postseason play, though they finished with two straight wins last weekend against Houston and this weekend against Austin FC2. So kind of good in-state rivalry wins. We can chat about that in a moment. But the bigger news is 4 points this week for FC Dallas as they got a big win at Real Salt Lake, and then the draw at home against the Columbus Crew. Let's go ahead and jump over. We'll listen to Nico Estevez talk about the game.
We knew it was going to be a really difficult game. Columbus, as I said before, they are the best attacking team in the league for a reason. To leave this team in a 0.68 expected goals is a really good job by our team to do it, even that we had difficult times in the first half. But I think we grow throughout the game. I think we adjust the right things throughout the game and help the team to build momentum. And it was just in those moments that you are better than the opponent and you have chances, just capitalize them. And we didn't. I think we had a couple of really good chances we had there with Jesus that we could do better, and then and we should do it. I think when you play against teams like Columbus, Atlanta, Seattle, they are playoff teams, and they have quality. They are good teams. And the game is going to be decided by details. And in this moment at home, these details are not going in our way, and we just have to keep working. And but I'm very pleased about how the team embraced it, how in the adversity they just kept going and kept working hard. And at the end, it's a difficult task to do. To win a game and against a good team that scored 6 goals in the last 2 games, and not letting them to do it, I think it was a great effort that the team put into.
Man,
Yeah, so Nico, after the match, after the draw at home against the Crew, talking about how, as disappointed as they are, as disappointed as they are, they held Columbus Crew, who looked really dangerous on the day, and have looked dangerous with their form. Cucho had a ball ricochet off the post, just inches the other way, and it's going in, and Columbus Crew may walk away with a 2-1 win. Plenty of moments like that. Diego Rossi had a shot saved off the line by Tafari. Julian Gressel had an opportunity on a back post kind of ball that he could have sent into goal. Just so many opportunities that Columbus Crew generated and got forward into attacking positions. But Dallas was up to the task to hold them back, to keep them just to the 1 goal, which was an own goal, unfortunately. And then on the offensive side, while FC Dallas wasn't as strong as the Crew, did better in that department, generated more opportunities to get that goal. And so the Hyder goal was really exciting. Hyder O'Brien has really come on strong in these past couple of games. But, this is the challenge of this league, and especially this season when everyone's going to be fighting for every single point. The margins are going to be razor thin going forward. So disappointing to get that home draw, I think, for FC Dallas, but that midweek win against Real Salt Lake, where they really came on in the second half and turned things around, just eases that a little bit. You'd like to see that kind of point pace as they move toward postseason action. to see like 4 points a week would definitely be more than enough to get them beyond the play-on game, which I think they would love to have. We'll see. This week there's 2 away games. They play Philly on Wednesday night and then at Houston. And both of those teams are looking like playoff caliber teams. The points are not going to be easy. So if you can get 2 points this week, if you can get one win, even if you settle for 1 win, 1 loss, you just hope you want points this week. You just got to get points to keep being in the picture of things. What was your reaction to the Crew game? Looks like it's just me. I'm flying solo tonight. Welcome to the Afterburn Soccer Show, everybody. Coach, I'm just fine. Everything's okay. Let's see how things flow here. Jose, I thought Jose was going to join me here. Sometimes he runs a little bit late, but we'll see if he jumps on and chats. We'll go with it. He wanted to talk about injury stuff. I know that's a concern for FC Dallas. Alan Velasco did not go the full 90 minutes. Seems like he's still recovering, and but as you saw, that he really set up that. It was a simple play too, that pass to Jesus Ferreira that created that opportunity for Hyder Obrian. But we're missing Giovan Jesus, who is going to be out for the season. We know we're missing him at right back. Some other guys, Sebastian Letjet, Bernard Kamungo, guys that we're missing. So you're asking other folks to step up, and we see a continued role for Dante Sealy and some other guys, and are able to have their spark, their moment. In particular this week, because of the amount of minutes these guys have played, I bet we're going to see rotation against Philly. Because Philly, it would be great to get points there. Every point matters, but they're an Eastern Conference foe, so you don't mind maybe focusing more on Houston this weekend, and which could have a more impact on your playoff positioning as we get closer to that. All right, shifting over to North Texas Soccer. It's going to be me solo tonight, just chatting about my perspectives of this past weekend. It was a great one for North Texas Soccer. I don't know if you watched the highlights for that one. They welcomed Austin FC2 for the final match in Choctaw Stadium. Disappointing that these last 2 games they have looked as strong as we thought they could be. So many drop points. I think 9 games where they dropped points. 9 games where they weren't able to get a penalty kick shootout and get an extra point. And I think some of that's enough of a margin that they would be in the playoffs. Just a few of those get turned around. But they welcomed Austin FC2. It was a weird game, weather delay, a huge weather delay. And I thought maybe they were going to replay the match in the morning, but it probably didn't make sense since it was sort of the final regular season weekend for MLS Next Pro. But Herbert Indele played as a right winger, not as a right back, as he's been sort of projected this season, and as he's been getting minutes at. So really interesting to see him in that attacking role, and he got a goal early. He opened up the scoring. Mulatto got his 11th goal of the season, which I continue to think is a really good sign for him. It doesn't necessarily mean that next season he's going to break fully in as a regular contributor to the first team. He is on a senior contract, but it just shows that you give the guy minutes and he's going to score. And he did not play every match of the season. He's had a limited role because he's been needed for the first team through their injury glut. But even when in his limited opportunities, 11 goals on the season, he's just been it's just a good sign for him. You want to see him score. And then finally, Hope Avayevu also made his case that he should get a winter camp invite, should get an opportunity to come in the offseason and show that he deserves a senior team contract. Don't know how that's all going to work out with international roster spot places and stuff, but I do think Hope Avayevu has proven that he can be a real weapon on the wing as a playmaker, and he's someone that still has an opportunity to grow. But the big question is, is there room for him on the roster, and how do FC Dallas coaching staff, how do they rate him, and kind of going forward, do they think he can earn a spot in, and how does Herbert Indele stick around for another season? Some of the guys that did feature from the first team with North Texas, there'll be question marks, I think. Korka, is he worth keeping on as a senior team player, or do you feel better now that you have Liam Fraser, the Canadian international, as a sort of fourth center back? Herbert's the big question mark. Colin Smith is out there on loan. Isaiah Parker probably has not progressed where you wanted. So there'll be some departures. There'll be some spots opening up. We just we have we just have these issues and questions. Like Jose will be joining us here in just a moment. We just have these questions that I think the coaching staff is going to have to evaluate as far as these North Texas guys and whether it makes sense for them to get more minutes at the North Texas level, or can you sign them and loan them out to a USLC team, or is that too complicated? You just let them go on and figure out the next stage of their career. So big questions looming for North Texas. But I got to say, as I look back at this season, it's been a lot of fun to cover that team and watch them, because it really is. You got to love soccer at that level, because sometimes it's not pretty. It's scrappy play. But sometimes it is. Sometimes you begin to see players, and I watched some of Ricardo Pepi get minutes with North Texas back when he was starting out, and you see guys start. Oh, and there's Jose. There he
Hey
is.
guys,
I've been flying
sorry I'm
solo
late.
here.
Sorry I'm late. I
It's
lost
all
track
right.
of time actually. I looked at my clock and I was like, oh,
It's just fine. No, I was just talking about. We already talked a little bit about the draw this weekend, but so we'll come back to that. But I was talking about North Texas. Just you know, a really good win to close out the season. I don't know if you saw the highlights from it, Jose, but
oh yeah.
I like Herbert and Delay's like opening goal, and the fact that he played as a right winger, and as
His
much time
best
as he's gotten
position.
it right back, sometimes he just was really confident. It looked like Malachi started at right back instead, so that was good for him. But that I just was saying, there's going to be a lot of these player choices, player decisions that are going to have to be made. Did Herbert do enough to stick around another year, get more seasoning? Does he have a long-term future with with FC Dallas? Does a guy like Corca, does he stick around on the senior team and get more minutes with North Texas, or is he really just not a fit? I think hope is the big question mark. I think Mulatto, 11 goals. He has a role. He's going to be have an opportunity to fight for a spot with the senior team and maybe even make a step forward. But Hope Avayevu, what's your reading on him? Do you think he is going to be able to earn a senior roster spot?
I do. I think he will. The problem is, you know, who do you let go to make room for him and whatnot. But I think he will. They might even delay it a year and give him a hybrid deal where they're like, okay, we're going to sign you to the senior team, but we want you another year in North Texas. Um, my guess is you do that, and then that year in North Texas is instead sent out on loan to a USL club. Where, by the way, Mulatto needs to go if he if he can't earn spots in the senior roster next year, he needs to go out to a USL loan. I mean, yes, the first half of the season he struggled mightily. You know, the jump to FC Dallas was too much, and because we didn't have a true backup for Jesus, they were sort of forced to keep Mulatto. Even though he wasn't ready for the senior team, they basically were forced to keep him as an emergency sort of player, and he really struggled. And it took him till the end of the season to finally get on track. I mean, the second half of the season of the once he was loaned full time to make room for Ilara, that's when he basically got his mojo back. And now we're seeing the mulatto from last season, who is clearly too good to be playing at this level.
Yeah.
I think Hope is too good to be playing at this level, but let's not forget that he was injured for the better part of the first half of the season. And at the end of the year, we finally got to see the North Texas from last year. You know, the excellent attacking front line, solid midfield, uh, solid play from the back line. It took a full season, but like I said, I want to reiterate that I think that's on management for basically failing to let their previous manager know that he was expected to win, not actually be a true reserve team and focus on developing kids, which that's done for now. And I think you're seeing a team that should be primed and ready. Some of these players that you asked about, Cork and them, if FC Dallas decides not to bring them back next year, clearly they got a spot in North Texas, especially if North Texas wants to win. They're better off signing these guys to North Texas deals to ensure that they have continuity from next year instead of gambling on foreign players that may not pan out like they did this year.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. I know, I mean, Corka's on a senior contract, and Delay's on a senior. So it'll be this conversation between FC Dallas and the role of North Texas, and it'll be fun to watch. But the other big question too is, and I'm going to work on a piece about this later this week, is just, did Coach John Gall do enough to remove that interim tag as head coach and become the ongoing head coach?
I think he did. I think he did. I think the last two wins that they notched were against good teams fighting for playoff positions, teams that they struggled against. Let's face it, they went down to Houston and beat Houston uh, in Houston for the first time in Houston's existence since Houston joined MLS Next Pro.
Right.
This is the first time that North Texas went there to their house in the middle of a playoff race and got a W against them. And then, of course, they struggled against Austin this year, and then they got an emphatic win against Austin. So, far more impressive wins than they look on paper. You're like, for a team that on paper had nothing to play for, playing against two teams who had everything to play for. If Austin beat North Texas, Austin would be the number 1 seed. The loss dropped them to the 3rd seed. So Austin was looking being the 1st seed gave them a shot at being front runners for the title, for a title shot. At least winning the Western Conference. And now, as a 3rd seed, now it's a little bit tougher, and I guarantee you, they're regretting the loss against North Texas. So impressive end to the season. Too little, too late, but at least they've laid down the seeds for next year, and that's good, because let's not forget that some of the key performers were very young. We're talking Norris. We're talking the two 16-year-olds that they signed this year, Ursula and Diego, and he said Malachi was started over in the back line. So absolutely, and Cork is also pretty young too. So let's not forget that.
Right. Yeah, I mean, Hope is 20, so at least think he has another season of maturation available to him. But yeah, I mean, Malachi Molina started right back is only 16. I mean, just there's so many young players that earned minutes this season and earned contracts. So yeah, it seems like next year, at the beginning of the season, it was a much thinner roster. And you knew that they were going to rely on those senior team players. But I think this season may teach them that, like, look, we want to use those senior team guys. But if there's an injury crisis with the senior team, they're going to need Corker. They're going to need Indele. They're going to need, so then who do you field? Who do you bring out? And so it's just, I think that spelled some doom for Cano, but it also told the front office, like, we need to actually have a roster if we're going to try to compete and have enough guys.
Exactly. It basically forced North Texas to decide: are we going to be just a reserve team focused on strictly on development, or are we going to be a reserve team with an eye towards being actual contenders within the league? And I think that's what it's going to be now. It's going to be, okay, we can't just be developing younger players. Which, by the way, I don't want to get off script here, but which, the word came out that, and this is, you got to give credit to Bus Carrick for pointing this out, that there's no limit now as to how many homegrowns you can sign. You can sign all the homegrowns you want. So in theory, you could have a player who's in the academy who may have be signed to a professional contract, and we may not know about it because you don't really have to. You can sign them, but you don't have, as long as you don't have them to the roster, it's you don't really have to announce it. So and according to what was said, to what was reported, it's limitless. So in theory, not that they would, but FC Dallas could go out and sign 30 homegrowns, and we wouldn't know about it. The half the academy could be professional, and we wouldn't know it. And it's a great rule. It's a great way to sign younger players. Explains why we're getting that UPSL squad coming, because if you're going to sign some of these kids, or you're thinking of signing some of these kids to a professional contract, then you want them getting some minutes. And if you can't get them minutes in North Texas, UPSL is your next best shot, and it's another rung in the ladder. So
Good stuff.
yeah,
Good stuff.
I'm pretty excited about that. I'm pretty excited about that possibility. I don't think they'll sign 30 homegrowns, by the way.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
but
yeah.
you could sign.
It'd
You
be
could
an
sign.
interesting strategy, right? It'd be an interesting strategy
Yeah,
for.
and mind you, and it's not as sweet as it sounds. Let's face it. A kid who signs a contract, a homegrown contract, even if he doesn't sign for North Texas or for FC Dallas, is still signing a professional contract and is no longer eligible to go to college. So it's not something that everyone's going to jump at. And I'm sure if it's a young player, they're not going to be offering an arm and a leg either. But I think it's a good way to keep players that maybe you're afraid will get poached by other academies.
Yeah.
That you think have a future, and you're like, well, we don't want to lose this player. You can try to at least try to, it gives you options. It's a good move.
Well, let's jump back up to what I started the show with. Of course, heard from Nico in his post game talking about holding the Crew to a .68 goal possibility, expected goals, which is low for that team. I mean, just what did you make of that match? I mean, I said I wasn't mad. The Seattle game, I wasn't happy. I was probably more unhappy with that, but against Columbus, man, there were moments you're like, we're lucky to get a point, and we should have had more. And Columbus can say we're fine getting a point, and we could have had more. And we could have had less. It's both ways for both of these teams.
I wasn't happy about it, and then I was, and it's you can't look at the game individually. You have to take a big picture look at everything, and Nico has basically decided to pick his battles, and he's decided that 1 point is better than no points. And with every team being separated by just a couple of points, it's going to be the teams that grind out points and get a point when a draw is on hand, or avoid losing all points. Those are the teams that are gonna basically make the playoffs. It's a everybody's back. I mean, I think there's only been 2 teams eliminated in the whole league. So Nico knows what he's doing, and I want to contrast the last 2 matches. You got Columbus on one hand, which looked like a road game. It looked like we were playing for the point, and I think that's what upsets a lot of people is that FC Dallas looked like a team that was playing for the point. They didn't look like they were trying to get the W. But then the game before, RSL, despite that first goal that RSL scored, Dallas was in control. They looked like the home team, and they looked like they were playing for 3 from the first whistle. So you look at those 2 teams, and you mirror them and combine them and go, which team were you most likely to get 3 points against? And Nico decided that it was RSL. We're their boogeyman, and Nico basically, his team played aggressively, attacking. They pressed. I mean, not the usual way they play on the road. That was against RSL. I was very happy about it until RSL scored a goal against the run of play, by the way. And then they turn around and play Columbus, like it's a road game, and you're going to see more of this going forward because of the fact that we have so many games, midweek games, and it's just the workload. Nico will pick his battles, and we may see other games at home where he looks like we're only going for the point, but you're also going to see games on the road where he's going for all three. It's don't look at the single match, look at the whole. And Nico has basically decided that he's going to pick his battles, but whatever he does, he's either going to try to walk out with a point or walk out with three. And it's frustrating,
Yeah, no,
but let's face it,
it
a couple
is.
of
I mean,
games ago, we were all like, "Oh my God, we're gonna be like LAG. We're gonna be." That's not happening. Nico's not allowing that to happen. At the same time, he's not setting the league on fire either. But I think you're seeing the plan. You're seeing Nico is gonna grind out as many points as he can, and he knows how many points he needs to get to ensure that he gets that playoff spot. And I think it's a and by playoff spot I mean a top seven, not a play-in.
yeah, yeah. And right now we're hovering at that playoff, that play-in spot, but still,
Everybody is.
but
Everybody's
everybody is.
hovering.
I mean, it's yeah, like so that's why. Yeah, no, I'm with you. I mean, because I think, and I think just it was an enjoyable match. It was a really enjoyable soccer match where both teams had really interesting opportunities and spells of good possession. But then there were also, just things that didn't go each team's way, bounces and whatnot. But like when Cucho hit that ball off the post, I mean, I don't know if Dallas would have found an equalizer again. I mean, I think Columbus would have been able to really lock down, and so I think Nico looks at that and kind of goes like, we'll take that, we'll take it, and we're gonna push forward, but we're also gonna try to not give them an easy breakaway here at the end and get nothing from this. So yeah, I think Nico is being pragmatic, which is not always fun. But once you get to the playoffs in this league, it's just like you got to get there. And even if you're a home team, an away team, whatever, then you can sort of let the guys go. Like, let's just go out. Let's play. We don't have to now think about the next two matches or all that, all those kinds of situations. We can just really let the guys go. So yeah, I feel you, and I feel like the RSL result too just put a lot of pressure off against the Crew. Like a point,
Uh,
you got 4 points. If you told us last week you'll get 4 points between RSL and Crew, we would have been like, oh,
and
that's a good week. That's a
yeah,
good
it's not the way we envisioned it, but it was still 4 points. I also want to add that the defense has been far more impressive than we give it credit for.
I
Well,
agree.
we lament the drop points at home, but they held the highest scoring team in the league to a goal. And in fact, they've played three of the highest scoring teams recently. They held Atlanta to a goal, another high scoring club, and then St. Louis, even though they only had 10 men, they held them to 2 goals. And mind you, those didn't come till the very end when St. Louis jumped at the substitution where Nico didn't get him right,
Right.
and St. Louis took advantage of the transition to get a goal in. But at the end of the day, the defense looked great against three of the highest scoring teams in the league, and frankly, I think it's a good sign going forward. It's a sign of a good solid base for a defense for a playoff run. At the end of the day, I think our biggest concern is our offense. They're getting their opportunities and they're just not converting them. And it wasn't for O'Brien
The,
in who must be in a contract year, basically balling out. And I want to say something though about O'Brien is he doesn't look like the O'Brien of that we're used to, the straight line speed, go straight and then lose the ball. He's really trying to play team ball. He's really trying to make those key passes. He's trying to make those uh, more footwork, more. I mean, stuff that frankly we don't see very often from him. We're seeing more and more of that from him, and I get the feeling that a switch has been turned on him. And I'm not, mind you, I'm not saying that he's going to be a star or anything like that, but I'm saying He's starting to look like an MLS starter out there. You can debate the quality of that starter, but he's gone from this guy is basically a super sub at best, a guy who can come out there with his speed and scare people. But now he's starting to look like a legit player out there. He's having moments. Now we don't know if this is just a run, like a flash, or has he actually learned and improved? And I mean, right now you have to say that he's peaking at the right time,
Yeah.
and he's making the case to be a full time starter. So yeah, man, keep it going. Somebody has to step up, and I'm glad to
Somebody
see
does. I
Barrios
know.
has stepped up.
What a
And
story. 'Cause we,
by the way, not only has he scored what 2 goals and 2 assists in the last 3 games, he's also been involved in the other goals, whether through a key pass or something like that. He's been part of the other goals that he didn't get a goal or assist on.
man, he earned the penalty kick that this team has been missing, and
That too.
gosh, we could use a few more down the stretch here. I mean, but yeah, I mean, as much as we wrote the book, the final chapter on his time with FC Dallas, like credit to this guy for working and not really being injured and just finding ways to contribute at key moments. So credit to him. I cannot, you know, cannot
And let's
complain
not
at all.
forget that he came into the season out of shape, and you have to wonder if that really set him back the first half of the season, and he's just now in form, just now in shape, and just now we're starting to see what we could have had from the get go. So
Yeah,
keep that in
but
mind.
if Coach Buddy, if he's a final MVP, I will take that. Take that. That would be
I think we'd
exciting.
all
But
take it. I think someone will probably jump in the lake for that. You
yeah.
know.
So this week another 2 match week. This the first against Philly, which was rescheduled, so it's going to be a hard one for Nico and company to sort of navigate. But I think you're right. I think you nailed it on the head there, Jose. That they play against Wednesday at Philly, and then this weekend at Houston. And of the two, um, yeah, all right. Well, and but of the 2 matches, you probably want to
It's
you
because
want to
I might
focus
have
on
shaken it.
Houston, right? You probably do want to put more eggs in your basket on Houston. So maybe you manage some guys' minutes. It'll be interesting how just Nico
We
approaches it.
don't know. You would think that that's the case. You would think that. I mean, that's how we all see it. But the fact is that everybody's basically writing off the Philadelphia game as a loss. Everybody's like, "Oh, we're just gonna, lose that game and go play, try to get points at Houston." We don't know what Nico's gonna do. What I can tell you is Nico's gonna try to get a point against Philadelphia. He's
Sure.
gonna try to grind out, and he's. I'm curious to see how he does that, because if you're gonna play a slow, methodical, grinded out game, that's Philadelphia's strength. Philadelphia wants that kind of game. So I don't know. I mean, despite what we think, I guarantee you, Nico's thinking 2 points. Nico's thinking, I need a point against Philly. They're both road games, aren't they?
Yes, they're both road games, so
Yeah,
that's
I guarantee you, Nico's gonna play for a point at both places.
absolutely.
He may actually, if he's gonna go for the three, it's gonna be late against Houston, and I would say that he'll play for just a straight draw against Philadelphia, and then he'll play for a draw at Houston, but with a little more urgency earlier. Like maybe let's say it's 0-0 at Philadelphia. He may push for the win in the last 5 minutes. Against Houston, I think he'll do it as soon as he brings in his reserves. I think at an earlier time. But I'm not writing off a loss against Philadelphia. That's not Nico's way. Nico is going to try to get points from both games. So expect a balanced team. Expect a team that's gonna. I don't really know what to expect. Honestly, I think.
I mean, that it's a good but just case in point, Coach. There, Philly at home drew LAFC this past weekend, and Philly hasn't been in the best form. Still,
No,
they're
and
going to
that's
be at
honestly.
home. You
I'm
know,
glad you brought that up. I'm glad you brought that up because let's
it
face
was a
it. Who's the
scoreless
team in the
draw.
better form? Who's the
Yeah,
team in the better form? It's Houston. Houston's in better form right now than Philadelphia. Philadelphia's a strong team and they're a strong home team, but like you said, their form hasn't been great of late.
9-1-4 at home. Gosh, yeah, they're
Yes.
good.
Oh no, absolutely. They're home form, but you're going to be playing two hot teams. Who's the hotter team? It's Houston. So I'm just saying, I'm not counting the Philadelphia game as a loss. I'm thinking if it's Nico, he's going to say, "Hey, where do I have the better chance to get the 3 points?" The answer may actually be Philadelphia. I would not be stunned if Nico comes out like he did against RSL and fields an aggressive attacking team because we're not expecting it, and Philadelphia certainly won't be expecting it. Not that they will mind, but I'm just saying, you know, Philadelphia, we're no Inter Miami, of course, but they couldn't handle how aggressive Miami was. And if I'm Nico, I'm looking at that and going, I wonder if we could do that because we certainly do have the weapons for it. We don't choose to play in that style, but I wouldn't be surprised if Nico's got something up his sleeve and tries to pull
Sure.
something funny against Philadelphia. Like I said, he was very aggressive against RSL. Why not Philadelphia? Just because they're a good team doesn't mean you can't beat them.
It's good stuff. It's gonna be interesting to see. It's just gonna be a fun week, and at this point in the season, there's gonna be a lot of draws for these teams. I mean, that's just the intensity level. Folks are they don't need the extra motivation. We're clawing for everything, so there gonna be a lot of, and even this past weekend, there were a lot of draws in Major League Soccer in the Western Conference. It's gonna be a bloodbath until the end. The good thing is Dallas has a couple of games in hand on most teams, not all,
They
you
do.
know,
They do.
and
They do
and
got a
and
couple of good teams.
2 wins, 6 points. They could go up as high as second. They could end up roughly in that realm. That's just how densely packed it is in the Western Conference right now,
And
and so
and I also want to say that while FC Dallas may drop points here and there, other Western teams are dropping points too, because it's so close. Um, I want to say that recently results have been going in FCD's favor. I mean, teams that they're fighting with for those playoff spots aren't faring much better. They're also dropping points. So yeah, I mean, it might not be pretty, but I think Nico's got the right idea. Get the points where you can get them, and count on the teams around you not being able to grind out those points. So it's not sexy, it's not pretty, but I think FC Dallas is a playoff team. I do. We just have to. That still doesn't guarantee that you know, that they'll be a playoffs team, but I think they will. I think Nico's got it figured out where he says, hey, as long as I can ground up points, a point here, a point there, it'll
yeah.
all add up at the
Wow.
end.
Well, you know what? There's a lot of things that can happen here. Right now, the team directly above them, and that Dallas has 2 games on hand is San Jose. But wouldn't it be interesting if the playing game was Dallas and San Jose? You know what a little bit of a storyline that would be. Lucci versus Nico, but
I I'm gonna tell you right now, I don't think that's going to happen. My prediction is FC Dallas will not be in the playing game.
okay,
I think at the way Nico's got it drawn up, FC Dallas will be a seventh or sixth seed with an outside chance for a higher seed if results go their way. If they
okay,
can get snatch steal a win here and there. But I think the way he's got him playing, I think they're a solid seventh or sixth seed when it's all said and done. And if a couple of balls bounce teams' way, because everything is so dense, it's not going to take much for them to climb higher than that.
yeah. Well, we have a lot of room before we speculate, and everything.
Exactly.
But like, even
Exactly.
if FC Dallas was the final seed or whatever, I would take FC Dallas against St. Louis in a head-to-head matchup.
in, in a
Take away
rematch.
that red card, and Dallas was looking great against St. Louis in St. Louis. I think this whole Western Conference is so. There are other teams I would rather not play than St. Louis, but that's just me.
St. Louis is very one dimensional. They're excellent at that one dimension, and that's great and all, but nobody really believes that they'll, even if they end up finishing the number one seed, nobody's really saying, hey, they're going to be the MLS guys or the MLS champs or they're MLS. I don't think anyone truly believes they're contenders. It's a great story. They're doing great, but they're a very straightforward team, and I think the better teams will, you know, clip their wheels once we get into the playoffs.
Well, all right, good. So, well, I know you mentioned, Jose, you wanted to talk about injuries. I don't know if there were specific things. I just still missing. This team is still missing Kamungo.
Well, you got that. We're just talking
Sebastian.
about Obrian and now what a great run he's having. But that run doesn't happen if Kamungo isn't injured,
Yeah.
if Leggett isn't injured, and right now it's forcing Nico to go to his bench, and we're getting to see a lot more of Sealy. We're getting to see a lot more of these other Ansa, who's somebody else said it. I'm just repeating it, that he's looking worse and worse the more we see of him. It's these injuries that we're seeing every time somebody pulls up, every time we're all basically, every single one of us, our heart just stops and we're like, oh my God, there goes another guy. And frankly, if this team for some reason doesn't make the playoffs, it's the injuries that are going to derail the team. Because right now, this team, I think, like I said, Nico is managing it well. He's grinding out the points, but we can't afford any more injuries. We can't really afford, say, one of our center backs to be gone, or another one of our wingers. You name it. That's really what's holding this team back. We all have our complaints, but if this team was fully healthy, we would not be in the position we are right now. We'd be a lot higher. And I just said, I was talking about,
I hear you.
that's why I want to talk about injuries, is we're all there. We're all watching. Every time someone everyone gets hit and crawls out and taken out of the game, we're all like, man, are we snake bit? Is that another guy? And so far, that hasn't happened. We're starting to get a little healthier. But I think that's what it's going to be. Even we're seeing that even when we get a player back, we lose another player. So we can just might as well accept that we're going to be 3 or 4 players short at all times. Every time we get one guy back, we're going to lose another guy. And hopefully Nico figures it out and figures out a rotation that compensates for that.
Yeah, the two biggest what ifs from the Pumpkin Spice 942. Of course, we have jobs. What do you mean? But yeah, the biggest two things are, of course, this summer the number of injuries for FC Dallas just really lost a lot of points, I think, in that presence.
The middle of it,
Yeah, and then I think Giovan Jesus, just missing him at right back was a tough one.
Right.
What was that?
Right as he was actually starting to prove that he was the guy at that spot, right? When he looked like he was making it his own.
Right. So we'll have a what if around that question for FC Dallas, because if he had been still playing, I think it would have added another wrinkle to attack. But yeah, that's it's just the what if, but that happens for every team. It happens for every team. I think my wife just pulled in the driveway. My wife just pulled in the driveway, and I think she hit the garage door. I'm gonna get on to her about that. She was like a little too aggressive on that pull into the driveway.
Comment.
Yeah.
No comment.
Well, good. Well, we'll leave it there. This has been a good conversation. We got so I don't know. Do you want to do predictions for this week for at Philly, at Houston?
I already told you it's going to be a draw and a draw. So I'm going to say 1-1 at Philly, and I'm gonna say it's gonna be an exciting 2-2 draw at Houston. Those are my predictions.
We got some guy Buax, Houston winning easy. Well, we'll see. I mean,
Whoa,
Houston's
whoa!
been in good form.
Sounds
Houston's
like a
been.
Houston fan to me. There, what are you doing? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
But yeah, I would love 3 points out of this week. I just a sneaky win somewhere.
Both are terrible matchups, by the way.
Yeah, I know it's unlikely, but
putting
I'm going to go with three, and one loss and one win. But it could end up being a game where against Philly, maybe Philly rests some people too. Maybe they're a little tired, and there's a late goal, a late Tafari header, kind
I
of a
mean,
thing.
everybody's talking about how difficult a match the Philadelphia game is for us, but FC Dallas coming to Philadelphia is a difficult match for them too. So
Yeah,
it could be
Hoch
something.
mentioned this. I didn't realize what he was saying, but yeah, Copa Tejas in the back seat on this venture, and I right, because ideally, if Dallas can beat Houston, Dallas gets the Copa Tejas, right?
I believe so.
And so
And
maybe we
I think Austin needs Houston to win or a draw or something like that to basically they'll be cheering for Houston. Let's put it that way.
yeah. Well, good. Well, thanks everybody for joining us. Thanks, Jose. Of course, we'll upload the audio tomorrow. You can like and subscribe wherever you find podcasts. Thanks for joining us at the Afterburn Soccer Show. Plenty of soccer action this week. Wednesday night, FC Dallas against Philly. Let's go. Let's go, Dallas. All right. See you later.
All right, guys, let's go FCD.